Welcome to this eLearn Security video training lesson on Foca and Shodan. In this video, we will see how we can use two powerful tools that will help us gather information from applications, machines, and online resources. Let's start with Foca. Foca is a popular Windows tool that allows fingerprint web applications, but it is also able to extract useful information from files that are stored online. Thanks to Foca, we can perform DNS queries, extract and analyze metadata, use search engines in order to find interesting files on the target server, and much more. To set up our environment and target domain, we first have to open Foca and create a new project from the upper left icon. For our example, we will use the domain elsefoo.com as the target. Once we click on the new project, the right panel changes. Here we can type some basic information about it, such as its name, the target domain to use, alternative domains to use for our tests, and some other basic configurations. For the project name, we will give a meaningful name, while in the domain website, we have to specify the target domain, which in this case is elsefoo.com. For now, we can leave the other fields empty. By clicking on Create, Foca asks us to select the path where we want to store the project. Once we select it, we can just hit the Save button, and we will be ready to start our tests. On the left menu, we can see a tree view. Each object of this view will be automatically filled once we start our scan and analyze the results. Note that depending on the selected object, the right panel changes. Here, we can configure some options for the selected item, while at the bottom, we will see the logs of the operations performed by Foca. As we already said, Foca is able to gather information and fingerprint applications, but the unique feature that Foca offers is the ability to discover and analyze metadata contained into files. Let's focus for now on this feature by selecting the metadata object in the left pane. Here, we can instruct Foca to look for several file types in the domain target by using search engines like Google, Bing, or Exalead. By default, only Google and Bing are selected. Doing this type of search may reveal interesting files available at the target domain, such as backups, local documents, financial information, and more. To execute the scan, we have to specify the search engines we would like to use. Make sure you've selected all the file extensions available, as you currently don't know what files are available at the target website. To let the scan begin, let's click on Search All. Because this scan takes a while, we've fast-forwarded the video. It's important to know that during the scan, Foca also fingerprints the web server and gathers some information about the domain. At the end of its tasks, we should see the enumerated files in the list. In this case, we can see a pptx file, an xlsx, and the index page of elsefoo.com. The next step is to download the files so we can extract metadata from them. Metadata is just a set of data that gives further information about the file. For example, if you create a Word document, the file contains information about who created the file, the last user who saved that file, and so on. As you will see, this information will be very valuable for our purposes. As soon as we download the files and then select Extract All Metadata, we can see that the documents have been parsed and that the document section on the left is filled with this data. If we browse the tree, we can see several items of information about the author, the creation date, software used, and much more. It is recommended to pass through the files and the summary of the metadata in order to find even the tiniest information about the exported files and data. Right after we extract the metadata, we have to analyze them. This option will analyze the metadata gathered in order to extract information about the machine used to create that specific file. After analyzing the metadata, we can see that the client section gets populated. We can see that a window machine, in which the owner is Marlon Hightower, and that the file has been created with Microsoft Office. We can also see the local path of the file. As we've already said, while Foca runs its scan, it also gathers information about the domain, the server, and the web application running on that domain name. Here indeed, we can see that Foca automatically stores such information. For example, in the server section, We can see the domain names discovered during the previous scan, but also their IP address. If we click on the domain name, we will get a good amount of information, such as the web server version, the operating system, the network range, and so on. Other techniques such as the web crawler and the technology recognition are also available in Foca. For now, let's take a step back and see what other scans we can perform with Foca. When a wider and more detailed enumeration is required, we can click on the Network section and see the available options. On the first section, we have the Subdomain Finder. Here, Foca will try to find all the available subdomains and our domain by using web search tools or robtex. The second option will allow us to perform DNS queries against the DNS and require several records such as NS, MX, SOA, and more. A zone transfer option is also available. Foca also provides the DNS word list that we can use to brute force the subdomains. This is the same word list used by Fierce. Right now, we don't want to run this type of scan, so we will disable this option. Right after the dictionary search, we have another very useful option. With the IP test, we can use web engines in order to find other domains that share the same IP address. Another interesting option is the PTR scan. If we enable this scan, every time Foca finds a new IP address, it will perform a reverse resolution over the entire IP bounds in DNS internal. As Foca mentions, this technique is very slow. Finally, we have shodan and robtex, which perform further tests on the IP addresses found. For now, we will not dig deeper in this option, since we will examine shodan at the end of this video. Now that we know what type of scans Foca will execute, let's run it by clicking on the Start button. Once the tests are finished, we are able to see the results in our main left menu. We can see that several subdomains have been added to the domain section due to the zone transfer, while on the related domains we can see the MX and NS records. As we saw, Foca is a very powerful tool that can help us fingerprint applications. We can use it in order to gather DNS records, perform subdomain lookups with several techniques, learn technology information about the server, gain usernames of the site owner by using metadata, and more. Now, it's time to move into another search engine called shodan. The most known version of this tool runs completely online, and it allows us to gather specific information about internet devices such as webcams, servers, printers, routers, and more. It's worth noting that shodan also offers browser plugins and a command line interface. Different from other search engines that crawl websites' content, shodan gathers information such as services running on IP addresses and domains, banners, ports, operating systems, and information that other search engines do not usually parse. Among its great features, shodan offers several filters that will help us narrow down our searches on specific information and also offers a big database of exploits. Let's see some examples of how to use this tool and what kind of information we can get. In order to start using shodan, we just need to browse the address www.shodan.io. In the search box, we can type the query we want to search and hit enter. Our first example is to locate some devices that are running an FTP server. We can simply do this by typing FTP on our search box. As we can see, we have found many online servers that run FTP, and we can also see their banner. This may reveal a lot of information such as the FTP version in use, the operating system, their location, and much more. Let us now change our search, and instead of using FTP, let's query other services such as SSH. Here again, thanks to the information exposed, we can see the exact version of the software running on the machine. Notice that we can click on the details link on the left in order to obtain even more information related to that specific address. As we have seen, we are able to gather information from the services banners. So what happens if we try to search something like default passwords? As we can see, we obtain numerous servers that have these words inside their banner. And if we look more closely, we can see that these banners sometimes also include the login credentials. Shodan's options don't stop here. Since it does not gather information from the web page content, we can try to search for specific devices. For example, let's see what happens if we type webcam and hit enter. Here are some publicly accessible cameras. Some might require passwords while some others don't. Once again, by clicking on the IP address here, a new page will load, showing more information about this target. Another useful option of shodan is to type the IP address of a web server and see the results. So, if during our information gathering phase we discovered IP addresses that belong to our target, we can type it in here and obtain even more information. So by typing the IP address of a server here, we can see information such as open ports, its location, service banners, and much more. This is really useful if we want to avoid running nmap and we just need a small amount of information about the target. Here, for example, we can see all the services running on the machine, the technologies in use, and much more. What shodan also offers is an exploit database. We can find it by visiting the exploit subdomain available at exploits.shodan.io. Here we can query for services along with their versions to get some exploits available for them. Let's see an example by looking for Nginx exploits. Shodan will query other exploit databases such as the exploit-db, CVE, and Metasploit in order to return results. On the left menu, we can also find several options regarding the exploit we want to use. We can specify the type of exploit we want to use, the platform, or even the author of the exploits. Shodan is one of the most powerful online tools available to gather very specific information without even revealing our presence to our target. It has been mentioned as the dangerous web search engine, and it offers even more filters and features for the registered users. We highly recommend you use it if you want to have a deeper look into your organization target or IP. Thanks for joining us.